how to do this. What am I even doing? Who am I? Why are we here?
Great cooking is not for the faint of heart. You must be imaginative, strong-hearted. You must try things that may not work. And you must not let anyone define your limits because of where you come from. Your only limit is your soul. What I say is true. Anyone can cook, but only the fearless can be great.
Welcome to Anyone Can Cook. Thanks for joining me in my kitchen. Today is a special day because we are moving on from the Red Wall cookbook in order to cook from the Christmas with Gordon cookbook, which I don't physically have because the US postage mail service is unreliable and it's been forever and 3 days since I ordered it. So today's recipe are pumpkin tartlets, which are going to be spiced with sage and thyme because why not? So using our imagination as if we're opening up our cookbook, here are the ingredients you're going to need for today's recipe. For the pastry, you are going to need 175 grams of flour, 25 grams of polenta, or also known as cornmeal, you can use both interchangeably, 100 grams of butter, 2 egg yolks, 1 to 2 tablespoons of cold water, 1 medium egg white, and 1 pinch of salt. You're also going to need a trusty food processor. Likewise, you can also use your hands, but since Gordon Ramsay uses a food processor, that's what we're going to be using today. Now that we have our ingredients, let's get started. Into your food processor, we're going to be putting our flour, our butter, and our cornmeal. Along with these 3 ingredients, we're also going to add our salt. Now pulse it together until it resembles coarse sand. Once your sandy mixture is ready, you're going to add your egg yolk and 1 to 2 tablespoons of cold water. You only want to add as much as it takes to create, what is it called? A formed dough. That's what it's called. So add your egg yolk, and then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon for now. We'll add more if need be. Once your dough has been formed in the processor, on a sheet of cling wrap, we're going to put all the dough and then wrap it up so that we can chill it. Okay. Take out the blade because you don't want to cut yourself. Whoop. Once your dough is all wrapped up, go ahead and place it into the fridge for 30 minutes to chill. While our dough is chilling, let's go ahead and make our filling. For the filling, you're going to need 200 milliliters of heavy whipping cream, 300 grams of pumpkin puree, a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, 1/2 teaspoon of both salt and pepper, 3 generous tablespoons of Parmesan cheese that has been grated, and 1/2 teaspoon of ground sage. Now that we have our ingredients, let's get started. So the first step that we want to do is take a small saucepan and add our cream, our thyme, and our sage to it. Now place the saucepan on low heat and bring it to a simmer. Once it comes to a simmer, go ahead and take it off of the heat and then let it cool completely so that the sage and thyme can infuse into the cream. Once your dough has finished chilling, now it's time to roll it out and put it into our little tart tins. So the first thing that you want to do is flour your surface generously. Now open up your dough. And don't forget to flour your rolling pin as well. Okay, so what I like to do first is to kind of press down on the dough. This helps it spread out a little easier and kind of prevents cracking. Turn it around, press it down a little bit more, turn it, press it down. You always want to turn your pastry dough quarter of a turn so that it doesn't stick to your surface. Once your pastry dough is all rolled out and it looks like the perfect Pangea continent, now it's time to cut it into circles so that we can fit it into our pastry tins. Now I'm using tartlet tins, which have a removable base. If you do not have these or you can't find them, I'll leave a link in the description of where you can buy these kinds. But if you don't have any, also use muffin tins. But you just want to make sure that when you're baking the pie dough, you keep your eye on it so that it doesn't burn, since they're smaller and they'll take less time to cook. So the first thing that we want to do is remove the base. If you're using these kinds, I'm just going to put it down onto the pie dough. Then using a sharp knife, cut a larger circle around it. All right, now we're gonna remove the dough that we don't need. Okay, now into our little pie dish, we're going to flip it in and very gently press the dough into the tin. Okay, if it cracks can easily be mended. Sometimes I like to use another piece of the pie dough, roll it into like a ball, and then help press that dough into the corners. And now, for these kinds of pie tins, you can curl the extra pastry over the side, and using the edge as its own cutter, it takes off the extra dough. You can also use a knife or scissors to cut off the extra dough, whatever you like to use. Now first, pastry is done, and now we're just going to repeat with the rest of our dough. We'll put it back together, roll it out, put it back together, roll it out to make as many as we can. Once you're done with your tartlets, now we're going to transfer them to a baking sheet. And then using that medium egg white from before, we're going to brush them down very generously. After you brush down your tartlets, now put them into the fridge to chill. This should take about 30 minutes. While our tartlet shells are in the fridge chilling, now it's time to finish up making the filling. So what we're going to do is strain our heavy cream so that we get rid of all the lumps and the sage and the thyme. Yeah. Now to the heavy cream, we're going to add our pumpkin puree, the 2 beaten eggs, and the salt and pepper. Now, let's whisk it all together. Once your filling is all mixed together, set it aside so that we can blind bake our pastry shells. To prepare our tartlets for blind baking, first you want to take a fork and stab the bottom of each tin 10 times around so that the steam can escape while it's baking. Now the next thing that you want to do is grab some parchment paper and get a piece for each of your tarts. Sure, grab the knife. An easy trick to make sure that your parchment paper doesn't just pop out of your tart is to take it and crumple it up. So now, it's more flexible. You'll be able to conform it to the shape of your tart tin. Just like that. Now, the most important ingredient are dried beans. So to each tart, add about 1/4 cup. And if you're using a muffin tin, add maybe like 1 or 2 tablespoons. The beans help the parchment paper stay down so that the pie dough doesn't rise up. Instead, it bakes flat. Now put your tartlets into the oven for 15 minutes at 350 degrees. Once your tartlets are out of the oven after their first baking, go ahead and remove the beans with the parchment paper. Now bring the temperature of your oven down to 340 degrees and put your tartlets back into the oven for 5 more minutes. Once your tartlets are out of the oven for the second time, now it's time to fill them with our pumpkin filling. So I'm using a 1/4 cup, but you can use a ladle as well. Go ahead and carefully pour it in. After your tartlets are all filled, the last step is to add the Parmesan cheese on top. So take a little pinch and just sprinkle it on to the filling. An optional step, if you want to, you can add a little bit more of dried thyme on top along with the Parmesan. So I'm just gonna pour some into my hand and just sprinkle it very gently on top. Once your tartlets are finished, go ahead and put them into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes on 340 degrees. Keep your eye on them so that they don't burn. You'll know that they're ready when the crusts are a nice golden brown and the filling is just a little bit jiggly. That's how you know that a custard is set. And we're done! These pumpkin tartlets smell absolutely amazing. Gordon Ramsay is a complete genius, and I'm sure everyone already knew that. I'm so excited to start the Christmas with Gordon Ramsay cookbook. There's nothing here. I'm so excited to start the Christmas with Gordon Ramsay cookbook. I absolutely love this guy. He's been a staple in my house for a really, really long time with Kitchen Nightmares and Hell's Kitchen and MasterChef. There's so much going on with Gordon Ramsay. So I'm really pumped to be able to do his cookbook. If you liked today's video, go ahead and give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss the next video. Comment down below to tell me what you thought of the first episode of season 2. And as always, bon appetit. Hi, I'm the camera girl. I was the one doing the recording for this episode. Today we're trying Gordon Ramsay's, for lack of better words, savory pumpkin pie. I'm just gonna dig in. It's alright.